Today, we're going to talk about the profile page. This is the page where you can configure all the options, notifications about certain things, the preferences. The first section is the profile details. So these are the general details of the studio. I would say the important part here is this, the sign up link for students. This is an external link that you can use and put on your website or send through SMS or any messenger. You can send this link to a new student and they can just sign up themselves for the first time to the Medidate app. So they'll put their details, their first name, last name, email. They'll choose their password for Medidate. And after that, they will receive an email, an invitation email with the download link to the app and the login details they've chosen. Then they can sign into the app and start registering to your class. So let's close this. The next section is the studio teachers. This is relevant for a studio which has more teachers in it, and it's not just one teacher. So if you're a studio, this should be ticked. You should enter the studio's name. And over here, you'll have the table of teachers. And down here, as it says, new teacher, you can add new teachers to your studio. So let's just call this teacher, teacher 1. Then it'll open this option, invite teacher 1. It'll ask for the teacher's name, and you can enter their phone number if you want, and send invite. Immediately, you'll have the teacher over here. If you press on the I, it'll take you to that teacher's user page, and you can see details about the teacher there, which classes they taught, and all that. Of course, you can remove the teacher from the studio when needed, and let's move on. The next section is Studio Notifications Preferences. Here, you can choose if you want to get an email when someone joined my session or class. You can get an email when someone left my class. Again, you can get an email when someone enters a session's waiting list, if that interests you. These three options, you can also get notified through the app. If you're signed into the Medidate app as the studio, you'll also get notifications, these notifications, when someone joined, when someone left, and that's it for this section. The next section is Students' Notification Preferences. So the first one is send invitations to the Medidate app when adding students to the studio. This should be ticked if you want students to use the Medidate app to sign into classes themselves. And this is because when you add a student to your studio and you add their email, they'll immediately receive an email with a download link to the Medidate app and login details to log into the app. Send the email invitations with the health declaration. So if you're using the health declaration of Medidate, I highly recommend you ticking this because in the email invitation, they'll have a button there that takes them to the health declaration and they can fill it. Same goes for the terms of the studio. If you're using the terms of the studio, have students receive emails with plan is about to end. Do you want the students get an email about a week before a plan ends to let them know that the plan is about to end? Then you should tick this. Send push notification when session about to begin. If you would like the students using the app get a notification about 2 hours before a session begins or a class begins, then this one should be ticked as well. Let's go to the next option. These are general preferences. So over here, you choose the language, you can choose the time format, hide students' attendance from others in Medidate. So if you don't want students to see other students inside the app that are signed into a class, then you tick this. If you want to hide the number of attenders in sessions from the students in the app, then you tick this. In the last section, student class cancellation and register policy. So let's go through the options. Allow students to sign into class freely through the Medidate app, even without a valid plan to the studio. So if you basically want to use this system just to manage the signups and the cancellation of the students to class, you can tick this. But if you do want them to be restricted to sign into class only if they have a valid plan, a membership, or a punch ticket, then this should not be ticked. It requires health statement to be filled to sign into class. If you require the students to fill the health statement before signing into class, then you should tick this. And when a student tries to sign into class and they haven't filled the health form yet, the app will take them to the health form to be filled and then back to the app. Same goes for the terms of the studio that you can configure over here in studio terms. If they haven't agreed to the studio's terms, again, when they try to enter the class, it'll check if they agreed to the terms. If not, it'll take them to the terms. Now we have allow cancellation until number of hours before class begins in application. So if you want to restrict the cancellation of the students through the app a few hours before a class begins, then you'll put a number here. If it's 0, they can cancel freely. If there's a number, let's say 4, then they can cancel until 4 hours before the class begins. Then we have allow sign up only a number of hours before a class begins in the application. So if you want to restrict when students can sign into class, meaning if you want them to sign into class only 4 hours, let's say, before a class begins, you open the registration only 4 hours before that class session or workshop begins, then you'll put a number here. If it's 0, then they can register freely whenever they want. Thank you for watching.